Welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter Podcast, your number one source of all things bodybuilding. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. Now, here's your host, Leroy Rollins.
Okay, man. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man.
For those that don't know who Jordan Hunter is, give people a quick little rundown of who you are, my man.
So like Leroy said, my name is Jordan Hunter. I started lifting about 7 years ago now almost, which is crazy to think about. I'm 21 years old. I actually turned 22 in a couple weeks here in November. So yeah, it's been 7 years. It's been a long journey, but yeah, I just fell in love with it from the start. I actually just competed in my first show. Yep. I think it's been like a month ago now, a little over a month.
That's crazy, eh, to think about that, a month ago?
I know. You guys can see, we're holding a little bit of water. But, yeah, so competed in my first show. Honestly, never thought I was going to compete ever. Never had any interest in it. Yep. But I had a lot of people tell me that I should, especially a lot of people that I look up to. I actually went down to Texas last year, I think it was. Yeah, 2019. One of my buddies did the Summer Shredding Classic out there. If you guys are familiar with like Alpha Lead and Christian Guzman and all them. Yeah. And so I was training in Alpha Lead gym, and I was wearing a stringer, had an arm pump and everything. I was feeling good, and I had people like Shaw Lee and like Russell, like all those guys, telling me that I should have competed and stuff. So hearing that from them, which is people that I've been watching for a while now on YouTube and stuff, definitely motivated me and pushed me. I used to always do like the online competition, Summer Shredding, where you basically it's a transformation challenge. Yep. But I did that for a couple of years and never won anything, just because there was obviously a lot more people that had bigger and better transformations and stuff. So I kind of fell out of the love of doing that, and I was like, okay, I want to set a new goal for myself, push a little bit harder. I always got shredded every year, so I figured this time, might as well just step on a stage and see what we can do. Yep. And ended up turning out pretty good. I won the junior class. Also won the men's lightweight. Unfortunately, I was the only competitor, but it is what it is. And then, unfortunately, lost in the overall there. From what I heard, apparently it was actually very close, which I was pretty happy to hear.
I'll testify to that, being there live. Obviously, for those listening, some of you guys might have been there with Jordan as competitors or spectators, but I had clients competing, so I was there live. So that's kind of how I first saw you in person. Obviously, I'd been following you just from what the Ottawa page was sharing. That's how I kind of stumbled upon you, and then obviously being there at the show, and we chatted a bit afterwards. But yeah, we talked about that afterwards, I think, where it was just he had 10 more years of training.
Exactly.
Which that's only going to come with time. You being only 21 years old, you stood up there and you gave it your best, and you looked like you put up a fight, which, like you said, if it was only a 1 point difference, then you were damn close, which is just something to be proud of, right?
Yeah, I was definitely very happy to hear that. The way I actually found out was one of the judges that was at the show. He's actually a trainer at one of the Good Lives here in Ottawa. Sure. And my buddy works at that Good Life, so he was talking to him about it, and he was telling him, like, oh, your buddy looked good, everything. Yep. And then that's how I actually found out that, from what I know, it was pretty much a split decision. Yep. So 2 judges had me winning, 2 had the other guy, and then I guess Ron, the head judge, made the overall decision. Yep. But yeah, no, I was pretty happy to hear that, especially for my first show. But I was also obviously, a little disappointed.
Oh yeah, it's always a little bit gutting. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What? Let's start from, I guess, the beginning of your prep, because obviously, this year in particular is definitely not like most when it comes to prepping, when it comes to competing. Now, you went through gym closures, you went through postponed shows, so I guess start from the top. When did prep start? All right.
Okay, sorry about that. I turned my Wi-Fi off. I'll just use my data. So yeah, I believe prep started around March. I'd actually have to look back and check, but I'm pretty sure it was around March area. Obviously, this show was supposed to originally happen in June. Yeah. And then I think it was around like the 12-week mark. They announced that the show was going to be canceled. If I'm being completely honest, I knew it was coming. Yeah. Me and my coach had a lot of back and forth. Like, all right, gyms are starting to close. I was prepping in my garage, and I was like, man, like, it's not looking too good. Thankfully, though, they were able to just push it back a couple months.
Yep.
I'm super happy we were able to compete, too, before gyms started closing down again.
Yeah.
Happy to get it out the way. But, yeah, I believe I started around March. And then, unfortunately, gyms closed. Thankfully, I had a little setup in my garage that I've actually had. That's where I first started, actually. So I've had that little setup since high school.
That's wicked.
Thank God I didn't get rid of it because it came in clutch.
Yeah, for real.
So I was training there for a bit. Then it got canceled. Went a little bit off the diet, not going to lie. Kind of lost a little bit of motivation.
Yep.
Put on some extra weight. And then show happened again in September, so we dialed it back in and got ready.
That's awesome. So did you have any friends that were competing too?
Yeah, so my training partner, Luca, actually, he's competed 3 times now, 2 or 3 times, I believe.
Okay.
He was a men's physique competitor. He did the Ottawa Bodybuilding show. He's actually moving up to Class A. We're working on that right now. I think he's going to compete this June, actually, in 2021, the next one.
Yep. But,
he did a couple shows, and then my other buddy, Austin, these are all guys that I met in college. I did fitness and health at Algonquin.
Yep.
So that's how I met, like, all my bodybuilding friends, because before, like, none of my friends were really into that stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of just, like, started it, and he actually just competed for the first time. He did the Novembers in Ottawa in 2019.
Right.
He's prepping for nationals right now.
Nice.
Hopefully it doesn't get canceled.
Yeah.
But, so a couple of my buddies have competed. That was definitely a big reason why I decided to do it as well, was just getting the motivation from them and seeing them do it kind of intrigued me, and, yeah.
Right on. So when you got word that the show was looking like it was going to happen again, what was kind of the mindset at that point in time?
Yeah, so we just hopped right back into prep. I was ready to go. When I had that little bit of a slump when it first got canceled, obviously, motivation wasn't at its highest, but once we dialed everything back in, and we know the show was for sure a go. I mean, I always had in the back of my head, like, oh, what if it's going to get canceled again?
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. I mean, I feel like every competitor's felt like that this year.
Oh, for
It's kind of just, especially for bodybuilding, the fitness industry this year's kind of just been a write-off. Hasn't been the greatest. But in my mind, I just tried to focus on the end goal and just, pray that it was going to happen. It got pushed back a week, as you know, because you had clients as well, which wasn't looking good either. I was like, oh no, I started panicking again. I'm like, yo, like, please, we're 1 week out. Let this happen. Thankfully, just, stayed on track and we got it done.
Awesome. So when the show ended, obviously you had time to kind of sit down and reflect on things. Do you think, as a whole, you kind of did the best you could with the hand you were dealt this year?
I believe so, for sure. Definitely the best package I've ever brought. Now, obviously, I haven't competed before, but like I said, I used to cut down every year. Mm-hmm. And this was definitely by far the best package I ever brought, and thankfully it was to the stage. I definitely owe a lot of that to my coach. Shout out to Rob.
Yep.
But, man, we dialed it in last year at the end of my cut. I think I capped out at like 150 pounds.
Yep.
This year, 147, which is crazy. I couldn't believe that when I stepped on the scale there at registration.
Yeah,
I was in shock. I just couldn't believe it. I haven't been that light in so long.
It's a bit of a
but with a way better package, a lot more size, just shape, detail. I was really happy with the package that we brought.
That's awesome, buddy. So here we are, like a month later. How's the post show been?
Pretty good. Definitely enjoyed a little bit more food than I should have, but
what do you weigh?
I feel like, honestly, that's what I weigh.
Yeah.
I think right now I'm like 172. So
sounds about right.
We're up there, like 23 pounds above stage weight. But I was talking about this with my buddy. Honestly, I feel like the post show is honestly harder than the actual prep, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah.
Just because, like, don't get me wrong. Like, when I'm in prep, like, tunnel vision, like, I don't even think about cheating. I'm just so focused on that end goal. But now, like, the show's done, you achieved it. It's like, all right, well, it's over. You know what I mean? And I struggled with that in the past for sure. Like, after my cuts, the mentality, my mindset was always just like, okay, time to get bigger, time to grow. So just start shoveling the food in, which is the opposite of what you want to do. I used to completely just stop cardio too. So my metabolism went to shit and I just piled on a bunch of fat. So I've been better this year. Like, yes, I am 23 pounds up in a month, but I've done worse in the past, and I've stuck to my cardio, making sure I got my steps in.
Yep.
And just trying to be smart about it this year. Definitely could have done better, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah, that's man. Like I've done that in a week to give you some perspective. Like I've had some really rough rebounds just because same thing that the combination of like the show being over, not necessarily knowing necessarily what to do after a show. Do I just start eating a lot again? Like you said, eat big, eat big. Let's go. Off season starts now, but
exactly.
You live and you learn through those things, and every time I've competed, it's gotten a little bit better. I'd like to say so. You roll with it. So
I think like the biggest thing too that I messed up on, which for everyone listening, take my advice on this. So obviously I have my own YouTube channel. So when you're like 4 weeks out, like all you think about is food, right? So every time I go to Walmart, it's like, okay, I want this after the show. I want this after the show. Yeah. And my original plan was to film like a massive cheat day video for my channel.
Right.
But then after the show, once you get that food in you, and you feel satisfied, it's like my mindset just changed. I was like, oh, I don't even want to film this anymore.
Yeah.
But I had the food still left over that I bought.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing, was just like always staring at it because I had the food.
Yeah.
So one piece of advice if I could give you guys if you're competing, I know it's hard when you go to the grocery store, you just want to pick up a bunch of snacks and everything for after the show, but it's definitely not worth it. Trust me. Just save yourself the hassle. Don't buy it all because afterwards you're just going to have no choice but to eat it. And it's not the best idea.
That's funny you say that. When I competed in 2017, I did the Canadian Nationals, and my girlfriend, for probably like 2 weeks, same thing. Every time we were like going to grocery stores, and I'd be like, "Ooh, that'll be good," or "Oh, I want some of that after the show." She had to have been like taking notes. And after the show, so I had won national, so it was a big celebration. We were all happy, and it was in Quebec that year. So we had like a 6-hour drive home. And before we got in the car, she was like, "I have a surprise for you." And I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And she pulls out this like Christmas bag, like probably, I don't know, like a big ass bag that you'd put a present in
of all the stuff that you wanted.
And I open it up, man, and there's cookies, chocolate bars, chips. So you know what I did for a 6-hour ride home? I just ate a bunch of shit, and it was so bad, so bad.
And it's like once you get that taste of it,
it's game
and you get that taste of the sugar, you can't stop.
No.
Like I'm the type of guy where it's like if I buy a bag of chips, I can't just have some and then like save the rest. Like I have to finish the bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
So you're now here and closing in on November. What's kind of the goal for the next, I guess, 6 to 10 months?
So I was actually just talking to my coach about this, but obviously I'm qualified for nationals next year.
Yep.
And the plan for now is obviously, we're back in the off season, so just pushing the training hard, slowly increasing the calories back up, trying to bring up the weak points. I think overall I have a very well-rounded physique, but there's definitely some things that I can work on, especially posing for my first show. I think you can always get better at posing. That's one thing. So we're just overall just trying to bring up the weak points, put on more size. And then I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do nationals next year. We're kind of just going to see where I'm at. And if we think that we can make a good push for it, then go for it. But honestly, I'm not in any rush. Worst case, I'll have to requalify and just make sure I'm bringing my best. Because I know nationals will be tough. Everyone there is coming to bring their best, going for that pro card. So I want to make sure I'm bringing my best.
Yeah, the other thing is with everything going on, like even next year might be a bit of a crapshoot the way things are already looking. So if you don't have the like major desire to compete, like just wait and make more improvements, and you'll just go better. You'll get better and better, right?
100%, yeah. Like I know, is it your garage that you train at? I know you have your own little like facility type thing.
Yeah.
You train in there full time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're pretty lucky with that. You got a nice setup in there, but all the gyms just closed down again in Ottawa.
Oh yeah.
So so all the gyms are closed again. Luckily enough, you ever heard of Carleton Place?
Yep.
It's like a small town right outside Ottawa. So, I guess the county that they're in, they're like Lanark County or something. They're not considered like Ottawa, so they're allowed to stay open. So that's been a huge plus. We got a membership out there. We've been driving out there every day. So thankfully, I still have a place to train.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I do not want to train in the garage during wintertime. I've done it before. It's brutal. But we have to do what we have to do. We got to grow. So, but thankfully, I've been able to train over there in an actual gym. But yeah, like you were saying, like we don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? They're saying the gyms are only going to be closed for 28 days, but I believe they also said that the first time that turned into 4 months. So
man, they said we were only going to be in lockdown for a month. Here we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
8 months later. So I would definitely take all of that with a very large pinch of salt.
Yeah. So I think we're just going to see how things play out. If this is all still a big thing by the beginning of next year, then it might not just be worth it. And just take the necessary time to grow and bring up the weak points.
Yeah, because you're 21, you're 22 this year.
Yeah, I'll be turning 22 in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, that's the only shitty part is you'll miss your last junior year. That's
true.
But whatever, you're either gonna miss it next year or you're gonna move on anyways. So really,
exactly. Yeah.
Looking at your physique, have you kind of pinpointed some areas you want to really put more attention to?
For sure, yeah. Definitely, it's weird. In my opinion, I don't think I have a small back, but from the front, I don't know if it's the way my lats insert. It could also just come down to a posing thing, but especially in my front double, my lats I don't show my lats enough. When I turn to the back, they're there. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I need to work on my lats for sure. Hamstrings as well. I'm definitely very quad dominant.
Yeah.
Calves. I feel like we all need to bring up the calves. Everyone struggles with that. Yeah, we'll leave calves out of it.
Yeah.
But some judges' feedback that I got was the hamstrings for sure. As well as I used to train my abs all the time.
Right.
I was always obsessed with just getting a 6-pack, and then once I got them and I started getting to more heavy training and stuff, I kind of just brushed them off to the side.
Yeah.
And that was one thing was they wanted to see deeper and more ab development.
Right.
I guess my obliques as well and stuff like that. So gonna try to train my abs in this off season. Try to make them a little bit better. But yeah, I'd say mainly just upper chest, lats, and probably hamstrings.
Right on. So have you devised a plan to make that happen?
Yeah, so it's funny. Me and my buddy just came up with a new split we're going to start following. But pretty much what we're doing now is we're trying to hit the weak points twice a week.
Yep.
So that's the main goal. I used to always, I guess you would call it the bro split, where I would just go in and kill one muscle, chest, back, just the way I enjoy training. I would just go in and be all right, today we're going to murder chest. And I definitely seen great results from it, and that's the way I've always trained. But I think as you progress and you get more advanced, you got to kind of switch it up a bit. I'm kind of doing more of that push-pull leg with a mix of the bro split.
Right.
So we're really putting emphasis on the upper chest. So I'll be doing my push day 1, which would be the Mondays, chest and shoulder, but it's more chest focused.
Yeah.
And then my second push day will be more shoulder focused with a little bit of chest. So still making sure that we're just hitting those weak points twice a week, but also just trying to make sure we're not going in and just killing the chest. And then by the time I get to when it's time to train chest again, I'm still super sore and I can't fully recover and stuff like that.
Are you varying up the rep ranges between those 2 days too?
Yeah, so that's one thing I'm trying to work on too, is just lowering the volume a bit. I've always been a really big volume guy. We do easily 6 exercises, 4 sets on all, you know what I mean? I was just always, and those were working sets too. I've always just been a big volume guy.
Yeah.
And like I said, the recovery, especially as a natural athlete, you just cannot recover in time. Man, so that's one thing I'm really just trying to focus on.
Something that me switching the last this off season for sure, and even kind of the latter part of last time I was between shows doing a much more low volume, game changer. I'm so
100%,
so much stronger, and then I can put so much more emphasis into actual good working sets because there's definitely some merit to so say you're doing 6 exercises, 4 sets, by the end of your 5th and 6th exercise, you're fried. You're not getting nearly the benefit, right? And you're just making yourself you're digging the hole deeper than you have to, right? Whereas if you pick 2 or 3 exercises, 2 maybe 3 sets, you go hard, and then you hit that muscle group again, like you said, in a couple days, you're just going to have so much more effective volume, right? Versus a bunch of wasted reps.
Exactly. So that's one thing I'm trying to focus on this off season. Because like you said, like you're just fried by the end of it. I used to always have the mentality where it's like, all right, well, if I'm not sore the next day, like I didn't do shit. You know what I mean? Which is not always true.
No.
Like for example, I just yesterday was my first push day of the week, and I tried that out. I picked like 4 chest exercises, and then finished off with some shoulders. And I don't know if you listen to Fuad's podcast, but a lot of the guests that he has on, they always say, you know, like you have your feeder sets where you're warming up, you're getting used to the weight, and then you have those like 2 working sets where you're just all out. So I tried that on Monday and had an amazing workout. Felt, you know, these not as sore as I usually do, but like I felt it. I know like it was a good workout. I put in the work, and I got pushed in a couple of days, and I'm already ready to go. You know, I'm not still like fried. You know, trying to use a massage gun and like. Trying to do everything I can to get ready for that next day. Like, I already feel good and ready to go, so.
Did you listen to the one with Jordan Peters?
I did, yeah.
That's it. That's the one.
That man's intense.
Do you subscribe to his site?
No.
Oh, you wanna get some knowledge, man. Trainbyjp.com, shameless plug. I'm not affiliated at all, but the best $15 a month I spend, man.
Really?
Yeah.
It was funny. I didn't really know who he was until that podcast.
No, not many do, especially here in Canada.
Yeah.
He's very, very unknown here in Canada, but he's arguably one of the top. Like, he's not pro or anything, but when it comes to bodybuilding, like over in the UK, like he's the man. Like he's the one that people really learn from, and they emulate his training style and his methodology. And I don't know if you follow many UK bodybuilders, but man, they're something in the water over there, bro. Like, they're another level. If any of them came over here, we would all be dusted. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. Because, listening to that podcast, I was like, damn, like, this guy's intense.
Yeah. Oh,
like, talking about bringing, like, 1-pound plates in his gym bag. And I was like, holy shit, you know?
Yeah, he loves it, man. And, like he said, you know, that style of training, he loves it so much that, you know, if someone said, like, here, this is a proven better method, he'd be like, no, I love what I do, right? Like, and that's just how much he cares about it.
Yeah, I feel like you just gotta find what works for you, you know? Everybody's different.
Yep.
Obviously for him, you know, he loves that style and it's what works for him, so.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, when you were saying about like the high volume stuff, like clearly it's worked for you in the past, but eventually like your body gets used to stuff, you need to switch it up, and that's when you'll start to see even more growth because you're throwing so much new stimulus. Like, if you're used to doing, like, you know, 4 sets of 10, and all of a sudden you do, like, a heavy set of 8 and then a burnout of 15 reps, like, your body's going to be like, whoa, what is this? And just really start to adapt from that, especially those muscle groups that maybe aren't as developed. They'll be like, you know, what you were doing before maybe might not have worked for them. It might have worked for your shoulders and your quads, but maybe your hamstrings need something different, right?
Exactly. I think that's a big thing people like mess up on as well. I'm a big believer in like not always like every workout you have to switch up the training style, but I feel like people just always do the same thing every time. It's like, oh, today's legs, I'm going to walk in, do 3 sets of 10 on squats, then I'm going to do, you know, the hack squat or the leg. Like, they always just do the same thing every time. And that's okay, like, especially if you're mixing in, like, progressive overload, you know, and you're increasing the weight each time. But I feel like a lot of people just don't do that, and they just do the same workout, and they wonder why they don't see the results. And I'm a big believer in, like, just switching it up, adding in, like, intensifiers, whether it's supersets, drop sets, you know, like, cluster sets, like, anything like that. I'm, like, a big intensity guy, too. Yep. Like, we just got back from training legs, actually, a couple hours ago, and, like, I could barely even walk after, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's, especially, like, as a natural athlete, too, like, you just have to shock the body.
Man,
and just, you know, force it to grow.
I agree. I think, you know, whether there's merit to it from being natural or not, like, I just feel like you need to really challenge your body or it's not going to grow. Like, I really think that if I was to go in and do, you know, the same stuff as, like, a lot of enhanced guys do, where it's a lot of, you know, from my viewing, like a lot of pump stuff, right? Like, it's really, you know, get the blood in there and all that kind of stuff, but maybe not necessarily heavy. Like, I feel like me doing like 5 plate deadlifts for like 5 or 6 reps is going to do me more for my posterior chain than like 4 sets of 10 rows and 4 sets of 10 hamstring curls. Like I just really do.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
So
it's also going to add that like density to the physique as well. 100%. You know what I mean? Can't be afraid to lift heavy.
No. Like, and I think people are just, whether it's a confusion of like, oh, it's going to make your waist blocky, or people are just afraid to get hurt, which is obviously a genuine thing. But I don't know. I think if you really can fine tune, those lifts and just really get good at them, it's a game changer.
For sure.
Are you intending to stay natural?
For the time being, yes. My goal is to go pro naturally.
Yep.
Preferably in the IFBB. I think it would be cool to, get my IFBB pro card. But I heard there's also like a couple natural organizations too that maybe I'll look into.
Yep.
But for the time being, I think, me and my coach talked, and my goal is 5-year time frame. I'd like to do it, and I think I can, but from there, who knows? Obviously, if I get my IFBB pro card, you can't, unless you have the best genetics in the world, you're not really going to make it far after that. So, for the time being, that's the goal. I'd like to go pro natural, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, a guy in the UK, I had him on the podcast a week or two ago. He just turned pro IFBB in Classic.
Nice.
He just got his IFBB pro card. It was crazy. So he was 160 pounds on stage, and the guy that he beat in the overall was 70 pounds heavier.
Jesus. See, that's funny though, because it just shows you that weight literally means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I've had people tell me to my face when I tell them my weight that I'm lying. I'm just like, man, like, why would I lie about that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to like sound cocky in any way, but like, if I tell people I weighed 147 pounds on stage, and like they see the pictures, like they don't believe me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And like, so especially in Classic, where it's very much a shape and a flow, like straight up. When you looked at them side by side, the guy that won his pro card that was 160 pounds, like he was very much more Classic than the heavier guy. The heavier guy was bigger. He had more muscle, 100%. But when it comes down to, you look at the highest level, like Chris Bumstead versus Breon, like Chris just has a more Classic physique based on the criteria that they seem to be judging now. And that's exactly what happened for Bob when he won his pro card. He was just more Classic, right? When he hit the front double, it just looked better. When he hit the Classic ab and thigh, like it was just a very Classic look. And even though the other guy was bigger, it just wasn't fitting the criteria as good as he was.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about bodybuilding too, is it's not always just about size. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's about the overall structure, the shape, especially in Classic, like you were saying. Like, if it was just a size game, for Big Ramy would have won, like, 8 Mr. Olympias, but he always gets pushed out because he doesn't come in as sharp and everything like that. So, it's funny that you say that. Literally, at the end of the day, like, weight just honestly doesn't really matter.
No, man, it's all, you're a sculpture, right? And you're building this certain vision, right? And you and I both being lightweights, we're never going to be the biggest guys on stage, but you can attest in your first show, you stood next to a guy who was a heavyweight, and arguably it could have gone either way. And you're like, okay, I'm 147 pounds, he's 190 pounds. We're nearly a 50-pound weight gap here, and I'm competitive. And that's the same thing when I competed last year and won the overall. I beat the heavyweights because it was more of a complete look, right? Which is, where I think you'll see good success, is that you have a good structure for it. And if you just keep building upon that structure, like, hell yeah, keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we'll close this out. We're nearly half an hour now. What would you share to maybe people watching that maybe they're new competitors like yourself, maybe they are thinking about competing? Any advice you'd share, my man?
I have a couple. So first piece of advice I would say is definitely don't rush it. I waited, like I said, it's almost been 7 years now that I've been training before I compete. I feel like a lot of people just, get into the gym and then a year later they feel like competing, which if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I definitely think people rush it way too much. Definitely give yourself time, especially if you're trying to be competitive. Take the necessary time to build your physique and put on the necessary size or whatnot that you need to. So that's one thing piece of advice I would give. Just definitely don't rush it. And then the other thing is enjoy the process, but expect it to be hard. It's definitely not easy. I feel like a lot of people want to compete, but they don't really realize what it takes.
Yep.
And I've heard of a lot of prep stories where, people just constantly cheat on their diet or just give up when they get 4 weeks out, which is you're pretty much there,
Yeah.
But a lot of people just can't handle it. And I feel like you definitely have to be a special type of person to do this sport. It's definitely not easy. Like me and you were saying in my Instagram comments there, for the last 4 or 5 weeks of prep, I was pretty much on zero carb, doing 75 minutes of cardio a day. And yeah, it sucks, I'm not going to lie, but it's what we had to do to, bring the shape that we did, and the conditioning. So definitely don't expect it to be easy, because it's not. But I promise if you push through, it's definitely worth it. In the end, it was probably the best day of my life, honestly. As cheesy as that sounds.
Yeah, man.
It was a great time, man. I felt like I belonged up there. And as short as it was, especially for them doing prejudging finals right away, I definitely enjoyed it, and it was a blast. So.
That's awesome, buddy. So quickly plug your social media, your Instagram, your YouTube. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it's just at jordan.h_fitness. And then my YouTube is just Jordan Hunter, just my name. Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Congratulations on the wins there on the show.
Hey, we had a good weekend.
You guys killed it.
I personally
did, man.
But my clients had a good weekend.
What'd you get, 3 overalls?
Jeff got 2 firsts and a third, and then Geraldine, she got 2 firsts in the overall and then 2 seconds. So she got 2 overalls, I guess.
Okay, nice. Yeah, you guys killed it, man.
Yeah, it was a good time. All right, people, thanks for watching the podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.